Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm a sleep physician, and if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. In this episode, we're going to go to uncharted territory, deep into the inside, and I'm going to ask you to ask yourself if you truly, really, to 100% want to get past your insomnia. And we're going to see how this is a very important question for anyone starting that journey. Hey there, super excited having you back. And if you're new to the channel, a big welcome to you. This is an episode that I've been thinking about for actually 2 months. I got an email from Carlos, who I engaged with a couple of times back beginning of August, or actually mid-August. And on the 16th of August, he sent me an email where he said, check out this book. It's an ebook by a psychologist named Dr. Orma. And this is the book right here. I downloaded this ebook and it was $27 at the time. I just checked today and now it was $97. I don't know why it's marked up like that. And overall, I thought it was not a fantastic book. Nothing there that you won't find on this channel or really online if you look for a CBTI or something like that. But Dr. Orma started off the whole book with this really interesting question of, do you really want to get better? I believe that for most of you that, you're going to say, no, why would I not want to get better? Obviously, I want to get better, right? And that's good. That's good. But this is an important question, and we'll see why. Because there might be some who immediately, when I start talking further here, recognize that, you know what, I think Dan's got a point, or if you don't, then still try to ask yourselves these questions. I think it's really meaningful. So what I read in this first chapter was the following. So this Dr. Orma said there actually may be some reasons you don't want to get better. Could there be? And he asks in the book, he says, try to imagine some benefits of having insomnia. And he listed some of them, and some that I remember were, for example, you get sympathy from people. If you tell them like you have real trouble sleeping, people sympathize. They say, I'm really sorry to hear that. Have you tried this and that? You get attention. Same thing when you tell people like I haven't slept for like ages. You get attention. It can make you feel a bit special. We all as humans want to be unique and special, and being that person who has like terrible insomnia gives you kind of a special identity, and that identity can actually be something you in some way cherish. You get something that you can in a way blame things on, like I couldn't do this because of my insomnia. And I think all those things are very valid, and actually brings me back to an email I got from Bobby. I initially, that was like, I want to say like 6 to 7 months ago, and I made another video about Bobby when I said that the initial one was called "Is Bobby Depressed?" and the second one like Bobby was not depressed. But in his email he said, I've begun to find some comfort in insomnia. So I think these are really good questions, and before I talk about why actually, no matter what you find, if you explore this, is good. But before I go there, I as a kind of spin-off of these thoughts from Dr. Orma, my thinking was the following, that for somebody that has had trouble sleeping for weeks or months, I think actually this is probably not that relevant. I should have started with that, but yeah, it's probably not that as relevant. But for somebody that had trouble sleeping for years, even like decades, then imagine this, like you've had trouble sleeping for like, let's say 15 years, the struggle with sleep, like ongoing every night. Well, how is that not in a way going to become part of your identity, part of who you are? And when a trouble like insomnia has become part of who you think you are, that in itself, I think, makes it hard to let go of it easily, and as a like a little to take that even further here, or to spin off on that, imagine that you've been struggling, you've been trying things, you've been changing, tweaking, working with insomnia for 15 years and get to a point where you come across something new, like, this channel or a CBTI or a coach or something like that. Well, if you get better in a couple of weeks, then what was that for? What was that, all that struggling and working and back? What was the point of all that? It can feel like that was completely worthless. And that can also make it hard to kind of let go of insomnia. And before I conclude, I think an important analogy here is actually from my clinic, where I see a lot of people with CPAP for their sleep apnea. And in the past, sleep apnea was considered like really dangerous. We have to treat it. Versus now, where newer studies show that may not at all be the case, and the Academy of Sleep Medicine now says if you have somebody that doesn't have any symptoms, you don't have to treat them. Well, I see a lot of patients that when they, when I'm told about the patient by somebody who sees them before me, the MA or the respiratory therapist, they say, oh, this patient is using CPAP but hates it. And then I go in and I talk to the patient. I say, actually, according to the new guidelines, you don't have to use it. And it's interesting because a lot of these patients then say, you know what, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's fine. I'll keep using it. And I think a lot of that psychologically is that they may have been using CPAP for 7 years. And if I say like, you don't have to use it, and they just stop using it, it's like those 7 years were for nothing. I think the same thing can apply to insomnia if you had it for a long time. Now, if you kind of explore, your inside here and try to think like, is there any reason that I find some comfort or some benefit with having insomnia? And if your answer is no, not at all, that's great. You're ready. You're ready to start working on it. You could, go back to episode 1 here and just like watch the first, 10, 20 episodes and then start perusing the channel and find something that helps you. Or you can hook up with Martin Reed, my good friend, Insomnia Coach. If you have an iPhone, you can download Bedtime. If you're an Android, it's coming out there too. You're ready. Now, if you find that at some level you're like, you know what, I think there's some part of me that kind of wants to hold on to this insomnia identity, and then that's also good, because you have found a reason for maybe why you haven't gotten past it. If there is even a tiny part of you that wants to hold on to it, I think it makes it almost impossible to get past it. But now if you've identified that, then you can explore that. Then you can be like, what are the benefits? What are the pros and cons? And then kind of have that kind of inner reasoning with yourself. And you'll, I think, undoubtedly find that, there's no point. I've explored this, and now I've realized I have to let go of that little part of me that kind of wanted to hold on to insomnia. And now I'm ready. So hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, then please leave a comment or email me, daniel@insomniainsight.co. And I'll be back tomorrow with answers to a bunch of questions. Really looking forward to it. So I'll hope to have you back tomorrow. Until then, stay out of trouble.